Hey there, it's Kimberly Lucht, and today I want to talk a little bit about how rest can help you grow your business. And so I have a lot of entrepreneurs that say to me, how do I do it all? There's so much to do. There's so many things that I need to pay attention to or to act on right now. And I feel like I don't have enough time to rest, to restore, to nourish. I'm like, I got to do all the things. How do I do all the things? I'm like, woo! It's like a runaway train spiral of energy and emotion. And I understand because it can feel that way, and especially when we live in a society that has us kind of like always moving along as if we were machines. It can feel like that's the only way to live, but I'm here to say and to tell you that that's not the only way to live. And actually, a more efficient way of living could actually be something where you end up feeling really rested and restored and nourished, and are also making big moves in business, in your career, and so on. Whatever situation you find yourself in when it comes to business or career or entrepreneurship, I want you to take a deep breath with me right now. Let it out. And let's work from that energy and that space of letting yourself be restored before we even get into it. And the first thing I want to say is that rest is not something that is an option. It's something that requires your time and your attention. And it's something that can be easily overlooked, especially if something is really pressing and really immediate and really in our face. And businesses, especially if they're our own, can feel that way a lot. And so I have a few questions that I want you to ask yourself when it comes to rest and when it comes to business and rest coinciding, because I really think that they can go off of each other in a really beautiful way. They can be synchronistic, they can coincide and collaborate. It's not one or the other. It's not success or rest, it's success and rest. And so I want you to have that mantra in mind as we move through the video: success and rest. Rest and success, they are one and the same. And so the first question I have for you is, what does rest really look and feel like for me? Rest can be something completely different for you than it is for me. For example, for me, it's the candlelit baths. It's the doing yoga nidra on my couch in the middle of the day. It's the getting 9 hours of sleep a night, and sometimes 7.5, but you know, like 9 is like, ooh, optimal. And of course, that's not always available or always an option for everybody, but it's something to consider as like, okay, if rest looks like that for Kimberly, what might rest look like for me? And for you, it really could just be shutting your eyes for about 3 minutes and really just taking in that lessening of stimulation, and that could be considered rest. And for some other people, maybe it's going to the spa once a month, or maybe it's like getting a massage gun and having that massage gun by your desk, and your rest period is like, okay, let me take a break. It's been 2 hours or 3 hours or however many hours at the computer. Let's get up, let's move around, let's do the massage gun. And maybe rest for you is actually doing a workout class. Maybe that feels really nourishing for you. So I want you to define what rest really looks like, because it's going to be different for everybody, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. And just because one person is maybe sleeping like, 7 hours a night and you're only sleeping 5, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not rested, because I think every single body is different in their needs for rest and rejuvenation and the ways that we do that. And it could mean sleep for somebody, and it could mean something completely different for another person. It could mean like a really good meal. It could mean really good time with friends. It could mean some time alone, some time to journal. What does it look and feel like for you? And when you come to the feeling part, really sinking into, okay, does this feel like it's nourishing me? Does it feel like it's building my energy tanks versus depleting them? What really is going on in the energetics and the feeling systems of the body when I think of doing those activities, those resting activities, quote unquote. And so making sure that those two things align, making sure that the energetics and the feeling sensations of those activities are definitely resting and feel exciting enough to engage in. Like, if you don't like yoga nidra, I'm not telling you to do yoga nidra, even if it does help your rest and reset system and your emotions and your feelings and your energy to come back to that rest state. It's more so like, what are the things that you'll enjoy doing and that also feel nourishing to your body? And so identifying those two things. My second question for you is, what spaces of the day do you think that you could work in a little more rest without sacrificing whatever agenda you have on hand? And so between calls or between sessions, you might have a block of about 10-15 minutes, and Other than going to the bathroom and maybe getting some water, what other things could you be doing to rest the mind, rest the body, or maybe activate the body and rest the mind? Because it actually doesn't mean that if we're resting our mind, we're also resting our bodies. Sometimes it means the opposite, and our mind might be not as active, but our body is like, going for a walk, for example, is a really good thing to do to switch it from mind activity to physical activity, and that can help us enter into that state of rest. So what are the pockets then of the day where we're able to insert that? And maybe it is just you step outside for like 2 minutes and like take in the sky, the nature, and maybe you have a dog, maybe you play with your dog. What types of pockets of time are you looking at where you might be able to do a little bit of resting activities or turning off the mind activities so that you can then come back to the work later on and be even more effective and productive and present? I call this wringing out your sponge. So a lot of times when we're working, I like to visualize it as a sponge that's soaking up a lot of water, a lot of information, a lot of stimulation, and it's like getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and eventually you're gonna have to wring out the sponge for it to even pick up any more water. And so I want you to think about that a little bit, is like these pockets of time can be your wringing out the sponge time, where you're like, okay, let's reset the sponge and like wring it out. So if that visual helps you kind of think about, okay, it doesn't take much time to wring out a sponge, it takes a few seconds, like what could that look like for me, right? What could that look like for you? And so thinking about the pockets of time where you might be able to quickly wring out your sponge can be really helpful when it comes to doing business in a way that's really sustainable and something that you can continue for years to come. Gotta regularly wring out the sponge. So the third question I have for you is, who might be a really good resting buddy? Like maybe there's an entrepreneur that you have in your life that also likes to do this or also likes to go and do that, but maybe you can do it together. And maybe it's a relationship that also feels very nourishing, so that when you're in their presence, it feels like you're resting. Like, who are the people in your life that are able to bring you back down to that space of like, okay, I'm taking a break, and this is a really beautiful, nourishing space that I'm in with this beautiful, nourishing person? Who might those people be in your life? And if you have somebody in your life that also needs to rest a little bit more, that also wants to take more breaks, maybe there's a way to become accountability buddies with that person. So that's why I kind of called it a resting buddy, of like somebody that you just do really nourishing things with. And that's obviously not all you can do with that person. Definitely you can go to a theme park or go peach picking, or you can do other things with this person, but ultimately if you have like somebody who you're able to do these things with, sometimes it can get a lot easier and you don't think that you're wasting your time because you're spending it with somebody that you love, right? Because I see that a lot. It's like, oh, I'm resting, I'm on the couch and I'm just like looking at the ceiling, which is really, really nice, by the way. Just like, like looking out on the water, out in nature, or whatever really calls to you. But sometimes those solo activities make us feel like we're not doing enough, which is not true. But if you're still trying to bridge the thought process in your mind of like, I'm doing something, I'm not doing something, and like trying to find the meeting point between those two, adding in another person can really help you do that. It's like, yes, I'm taking a break from work and I'm spending it with this person, and we're resting and nourishing ourselves together. And so that can be really, really helpful. And I hope that this brings you a little bit of a sense of relief that you don't have to rest alone. Especially if you're an extrovert, it's not necessarily something that maybe comes easily to you, or something that you want to do very regularly and be on your own and like just rest by yourself. And even though that's really lovely, maybe you want to do it with other people. And so I give you full permission to find that person or those people to do things with you. And so just to recap, the questions that I want you to ask yourself are, what does rest look and feel like for you? What pockets of time during the day feel like you can insert a little rest in, even if it's just 2 minutes? And then who might be great rest buddies or accountability partners when it comes to taking a break and maybe doing it together? I really hope that this helps. And if you want more of this, and if you want more connections with people who are super nourishing for you, I really invite you to look into the Queen Beehive. It's my group program for entrepreneurs who want want to make more money and feel like honey, like the resting vibes are definitely in that hive. So if you want in on that, if you're curious about the details, click the link below, and I hope to see you on the inside. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao for now. Bye.